Glad to have you back on iBrand Daybreak. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has urged President Muhammadu Buhari to urgently recover missing 105.7 billion naira of public funds from ministries, departments and agencies to fund the country's public tertiary institutions, improve the welfare of staff members, and ensure that the striking academic staff union of universities return to class without further delay. SERAP said, pending the recovery of the missing public funds, we urge you to redirect some of the presidency's budget of 3.6 billion naira on feeding and travels and the 134 billion naira allocated to the National Assembly in the 2022 budget to meet with the demands by ASU. Now, joining us right now, we have Mazi Jinedum Obioha, a public affairs analyst. Good morning, Mazi, and thank you for being on the show this morning.
Yeah, good morning, everybody in the studio. It's my pleasure. Happy New Month, Happy New Day.
Yeah, thank you so much, Marty. And now, Marty, with all of this money is allocated to ministries and federal parastatals, and we have the ASU being on strike for a very, very long time, and also the pending strike continues. What do you take from all of this happenings?
Yeah, it's very disheartening that we have found ourselves in this situation, that students have been at home for getting to 6-7 months now, and nothing has been done to at least sort out the issue. Unfortunately, those that are saddled with the responsibility of ensuring that our education system works, some of their children are not here. So, and that gives room for people to speculate that it is because their children are not studying in Nigeria. That's why it appears they look the other way without trying to find a solution to that. It's unfortunate. It gives us some worries, and we begin to wonder which type of system are we running. Are we running a system that our children are, somewhere idling themselves? Some are roaming about. Some even have entered into drug problems. So why is it that our government should not do something meaningful to make sure that the asset strike is being covered? So it's a very disastrous something. Our education system has died, collapsed completely. Our graduates cannot be gainfully employed overseas. So it's something that the government is not looking in that direction. So it's unfortunate.
Mazi, what's the feasibility of the monies that has been budgeted to the National Assembly and other ministries be diverted to education, considering that some of these monies have been expended on budgets or several projects rather by these ministries and the National Assembly. Moreover, right about now the education sector also has its own budget. So the call by SERAP, how feasible is it at this point in time?
Yeah, that's a wish of everybody. Presently, I'm of the opinion that even our national assembly salaries, they are the highest paid lawmakers in the world.
Yep.
They are the highest paid. Even our president, apart from being the most powerful president in the world, he is the highest paid president in the world. So I am thinking, and I agree with Sarah, that the salary should be reduced. They should be on part-time. The salary that are being paid to them should be channeled to solve the problem of ISO. And even channeled to other sectors like power, like the power, like even the roads. The roads are not there. Works. So SERAP has called, and that is the desire of every Nigerian, that the jumbo salary they are being paid. But of course, it has to go through the process. It has to go through the process. That's why we are saying that this constitution should be reviewed. It was not even the church that made that constitution. How can a lawmaker smile home every month with 30 million, 15 million? Then you think you say we are working for a better Nigeria. We are not working for a better Nigeria. We are digging the grave of Nigeria.
Okay,
so
Mazi.
the salary should be reduced drastically.
All right, Mazi, just to add.
One, yes.
All right, now just to add, I get the point you're trying to make, but over time we've heard, or it's not the first time the Serap has urged or is suing the president for one thing or the other, but all of these things never sees the light of the day. We don't even see the president reply or respond or act on some of these things raised by Serap.
It's because they don't pay attention to the Nigerians. They don't listen to Nigerians. If an association like Serap has called for this, and it is the wish and desire of every Nigerian, then why is it that they will not pay attention to it? So it's not today the Serap has been calling for the budget, and they listen, they not listen. It's just like, please, hear what I'm saying, not that they will do it. How many times have Serap taken them to court? Have they obeyed the law? I think, are we Banana Republic? Serap has said, they said, this thing should be done. And if they listen to that, we will see the light of the day. I listened to Peter when he was asked, what will he do to remedy the strike between ASU and he said he will call for dialogue. Remember some of these things, some of the agreement, the agreement is that the agreement reached 2009 has not implemented. And look at what happened during these primaries. Someone that vies for presidential candidate paid 100 million. Why do they get such money? So that's what the Senate is saying. Please, channel their jumbo salaries, reduce it. Keep what they let them do on part time, so that the money that they would have collected should be channeled to others. Our health service is not working. Our security is not working. Even works are not working. The light, our grid has collapsed. So all these things should be addressed by good governance. We don't have good governance in Nigeria.
But Mazi, let me come in here. When you say that salaries should be on part-time and all, I understand that's for the foreseeable future. What Serap is advocating or calling for rather is that right now from the 2022 budget, the allocations to the National Assembly as well as the president in terms of feeding Aso Villa precisely should be diverted to education, so that the lingering crisis in terms of the industrial action by ASU will be resolved and they will get back to work. Now, my question is this: considering we're at the half point of the year, we've spent the first 6 months already, how feasible is this? Because some of these ministries, even the National Assembly, would have spent some of these monies. That's one. Then my second question would be, for all of these talks that we're talking about, diversification of funds to the education sector, is that the lasting solution to ending the industrial impasse between the federal government and ASU?
Well, my own opinion is that start from somewhere.
Okay.
It might not be. You have to start from somewhere. The journey of 20 miles starts with a step. Don't forget that ASU is accusing the federal government of insincerity. And that's the point. If agreement is entered, let it be implemented. If the two parties enter into discussion, an agreement is reached, let there not be any breach. When God said, I hate foolish vows, pledges. The issue now is this: whether it will bring a lasting solution or not.
Okay.
It will go a long way in tackling it. If this money that our lawmakers are being paid are reduced to the barest minimum, like I said, if they could be asked to work on part-time, the one of the channel, you agree with me that you in their studio there, use chain. Even that sort of uses chain.
Yes.
So if some of these people will be channeled towards that, our education system is in shambles. Other sectors are dying. So some of these things will be used to at least go a long way, go halfway, or even beyond halfway. Then on the other issue, look, let me tell you one thing. If you think that you cannot do this, don't enter into agreement.
Okay.
Even on gunpoint. That's what Peter said. Look, call ASU, call government. Let us sit together. And I would say this agreement reached since 2009.
Yes.
I will not be able to pay. This is what I can afford. You make it, you place it on the table. But unfortunately, the government will tell us that
Christian Kike.
So they don't want to see government should raise a team that will be genuinely honest and call action. Bring the agreement raise. This is what we can afford. And then on the other side, let there be a legislator that the lawmakers should be on part time.
Okay.
Review their salaries. Who among the lawmakers in the world have paid more than that? And that is why all of them, from governorship to the Senate, because there are plenty money there. The governors have a lot of money. Hitting under security votes. No, that was no-go area. These things should be reviewed. That is our problem. Corruption.
Okay, Mazi.
Corruption is everything.
Let me interrupt you a bit. I'm sorry for that. You talked about, Peter Obi advocating for dialogue as a necessary means to, resolve the incessant, industrial action by ASU. But isn't it dialogue that even brought about the 2009 agreement, which the federal government failed to implement, as well as that of 2020, which they've also failed to implement? I mean, how much of an impact will dialogue have if at the end of the dialogue, one party is still failing to meet with its obligations?
There are dialogues and there are dialogues.
Okay.
We're talking about sincere and genuine dialogues. Not people that will play politics with the life of our people, with the future of Nigerians.
Mm-hmm.
Not politicians. Bring genuine and honest people that will sit down with ASO. ASO, you are part of this system. You know what has happened. You know the economy. You know our. But then, you see how much has been budgeted for national assembly. This is 3.something billion for food alone. It's not fair. If you are eating while your children are hungry, your children are being driven out of the school, your children are roaming about on the street, and you are eating. They have all manner of allowances, including toothpick allowance, including toiletries allowance. While your children and other people's children are on the street. So I think genuine dialogue, not with this group of people. And that is why Obi is saying, call them. He's not talking about ordinary dialogue. He means a genuine and meaningful dialogue. That we see the end of it. He said, I will tell them this is what I can pay.
Okay.
And they have placed it. When that agreement is reached, new agreement. You see, in Bible we have old covenant and the second covenant. The second, the new covenant now supersedes that of the old one.
Okay.
So the Obi is calling for new covenant that will see the genuine one.
Mazi.
At the end of it, government will now that amount agreed or give undertaking. Even when they give undertaking presently, they don't obey, they don't honor it.
Okay.
These are people that are dishonorable.
Mazi, you said, using Obi's statement now that he said during the course of dialogue, it will tell them this is what it can pay. There's a difference between what I can pay and what needs to be paid. We've talked about the education sector, how dilapidated schools are in terms of infrastructure and what have you. There needs to be, there is what has to be paid, not what I can pay in the sense. So if the ASU, that's the union now, is calling for the revitalization of the universities, it requires what must be paid, not what I can pay. And that's where the bone of contention lies. I understand what you're saying in terms of genuine dialogue, but for our universities to get back to that level that we expect them to be, we need to pay what needs to be paid, not what I can pay. So the question still remains, how can the federal government generate revenue that would meet up with ASU's demands, especially in terms of revitalization of our universities?
In elementary economy, you have need and wants.
Yes?
You have needs and wants. Need is quite different from wants.
Yes?
Need is actually what is important to you.
Exactly.
Everybody wants to buy a car, but how many people can afford it? That's the elementary part of it. When dialogue comes into play,
Yes?
the genuineness of dialogue is that also this is what you want.
Yes?
There should be improvement in the infrastructure development in the universities. And this is this. In terms of salary and remuneration, this is what you can
Okay.
Make provision for parties. And that's one of the things as is not our needs, not wants. So it is important for the government. They don't care now. They don't care. It's not today now. You remember, I think 1970 something, our name was go.
Yes.
This thing has been there. During the Basinjo regime, I think the actual was for 6 months.
Yes, 9 months.
Pay attention to that. So we need to put people in place who will see the need, not the want.
All right.
Who will
Okay.
see